Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network, simulcast with our great friends over at KLRN Radio. I am your host, Sean. Thank you for joining us right here. If you want to get in live chat, best way to do that is over in YouTube. If you're watching from X or Twitch or whatever, YouTube's the best place to chat. And, say hi to the other chatters, like and subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do, that voodoo that you do so well. Lots to talk about tonight. Sorry I missed Monday night, had a migraine, couldn't answer the bell. It happens. I'm old. Can't imagine why. It's not like I'm under an incredible amount of crushing stress in my life, but and sometimes you just can't figure out the mystery of the cosmos. So, have you heard of Mahmoud Khalil? Oh, Mahmoud, here on a student visa, resident alien card. And he's a terrorist sympathizer, and he's kind of been problematic. And so much so that Marco Rubio and the State Department has decided to revoke his resident alien status. In other words, kick his ass back to Palestine. Now, people say, oh, but he can't do that because he's got a green card. No, you can. Limitations on green cards, specifically, you cannot you cannot vote in federal, state, or local elections. You cannot run for public office. You can be deported for certain crimes, or if they stay outside the U.S. for extended periods, you must renew every 10 years, and you face different tax obligations to the U.S. You can be deported. You're here as a guest. You are here as a guest, plain and simple. We allow you to be here. We allow you certain privileges, but you are not an American citizen. You are a resident alien. Now, does that make a difference for most resident alien card holders? Yeah, a lot of them respect it. Not all of them. I think we're seeing more and more with these protests in universities against Israel and just completely disrupting and disruptive and threatening Jewish students, yada, yada, yada. I think we're seeing that there is some more and more, because there was another Chinese student who was kicked out of the country. Nobody's talking about that one. I don't know if you remember that. It was I think it was UCLA. She was an activist, and when they removed her, somebody identified her, and they said, oh, that's so-and-so. She's from China. She's here on a student visa, much like a green card. And yeah, they removed her last month, I think. Last month, maybe the end of January. She was removed. Nobody talked about that. Nobody. But Mahmoud Khalil, who is a Palestinian here on a student visa, man, life must be good in Palestine when you can afford to go to prominent universities, huh? Just saying. That's impressive. Where did he get his loans from? Where do you think that money came from? I wonder if USAID paid his ticket. Just a guess, just a hypothesis. Or maybe he got a student loan. Can you qualify for a student loan in America if you're not a resident? I bet you if you had a green card, you do. Let's see. Golly, who would fund that? Palestine is so poor. We get told that all the time. I do have premature streaming issues. Sorry. I thought I gave you enough time. My bad. So yeah. So Mahmoud's been involved in all these protests and has been problematic. And finally the State Department goes, "Hey, look, you're not a citizen, and adios, amigo." Well, I don't know what the equivalent to that from somebody who's Palestinian is, but it's the same thing. And people are losing, not everybody, people on the left are losing their fucking mind. Tom Homan today. Tom Homan was in New York. I want to show you. Where is that clip? I want to show you how people in, this is a mayoral candidate in New York who's so upset over Mahmoud being kicked out that he decided he wanted to act in a democratic way, and he wanted to communicate with Tom Homan, who happened to be in New York at the time, to express his concern and see what sort of intelligent agreement they could possibly come to. It's funny how he says, "How many more New Yorkers are you going to deport?" You see how they're so cute about their language. By the way, that's mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani yelling at Tom Homan. But how many more New Yorkers are you going to deport? He hadn't deported any New Yorkers that I know of. He's deported a whole bunch of people from other places. Mahmoud is not a New Yorker. But that's the language that they'll use to incite other people to be angry and to build this fervor. This is all they have on the left right now. Right? This is it. All they can do is they go after the process, because they literally look, Department of Education, they're going after the process. We'll talk about that in a little bit. DOJ, they're going after the process, not the causes, not the problems, the process. Because attacking a process is easy. It requires no intelligence. Look at, here's a good example. Here's a pen. It's my daughter's. The process is now for me to take the cap off. A million different people could argue how I did that wrong, right? It's easy. It's taking off a pen cap. You could have 10 different opinions. Some say you should hold the bottom and pull from the top. Some say you should hold from the top, pull by the bottom, blah, 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 blah. Yes, Mamdani was acting tough behind the state trooper. I don't think he would have really wanted to get in Homan's face. But that's all the left is doing now with all their outrage is attacking the process, because the content you can't argue with. You can't argue the fact that this guy was supporting a terrorist organization while here on a resident visa. And yes, you do have certain rights as a resident alien, but there are certain things that you do not have. And yes, they are rights. The Constitution does extend certain rights to resident aliens. Supporting terrorism is not one of those rights. It's not the protest. It's what he has openly supported, and has that portion of what he supports being involved in these very disruptive, destructive, and horrible protests, attacking verbally and sometimes physically Jewish Americans. That's not protected. So what's his legal team say? Well, they said exactly what you think his legal team's going to say. We're going to do everything we can, and this shouldn't have happened, and he's got rights, and blah, 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 blah. Here, you watch.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As we try to make clear in court today, happened to Mahmoud Khalil is nothing short of extraordinary and shocking and outrageous. It should outrage anybody who believes that speech should be free in the United States of America.
Once again, changing the argument. It's not about the speech. It's not about the protest. It's who he's supporting, terrorist organization. By the way, October 7th, that's the whole group, Hamas, Palestinian Hamas. Just want to ring that bell so everyone remembers.
So Khalil is a lawful permanent resident who is coming home with his U.S. citizen wife, who is 8 months.
I love how they're going to turn him into a martyr. Sorry, that was too easy. Already brought up the wife. He's a permanent resident alien, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't change anything. And look, this needs to get thrown out of court. I already showed you the beginning of it. I don't have to go on. You can already guess what the rest of this speech is going to be. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. First Amendment, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Resident alien, bullshit, bullshit student, bullshit cop, bullshit kid, bullshit child on the way, bullshit wife. Right? The fuck around and find out graph has been going out of control lately. And this is another example. You see, American citizens aren't getting deported for this. No, they have protections. They're citizens. The resident alien does, not a citizen. Permanent or not a citizen. It's plain and simple. This is black and white. They're going to try to hide it behind the First Amendment. Has nothing to do with that. Has to do with the fact that he's in violation. Plain and simple. So the left is going absolutely batshit crazy over this. This is their, like I said earlier, not even being funny now, this is their martyr. This is the people they need. Because USAID, Department of Education, as I said before, DOGE, changes in Social Security that we're seeing, all of those things, they can't argue with the substance. So they need victims. They need victims. And you're seeing that with the Department of Education. As a matter of fact, nobody will start this conversation better than Tampon Tim.
They don't want to be involved in politics. They want to teach kids. They chose this profession because it's what they love.
Okay, so somebody explained to me, good old Timmy Poo, how many teachers does the Department of Education have in classrooms? This is a trick question. The Department of Education does not directly teach in classes. Essentially, the Department of Education is money laundering in a lot of ways. They get tax dollars, and then they decide who gets what and how much, right? So they take your money and they almost like dirty launder it, like they make it more dirty as it kicks out because they hand it out to programs that they like and not programs that they don't like. And the Department of Education is this humongous bloated bureaucracy where you have all of these Department of Education employees who are making a ridiculous salary, but they don't employ any teachers. So for Tampon Tim to come out here and say, they just want to teach in the classroom. Now they don't have teachers. The school districts, they're the ones that employ the teachers.
And now they've been thrown into the middle of this absolutely ridiculous fight. And it will go just as well as the tariffs have gone. Just as well as the...
I hope so. Because the tariffs aren't going all that bad.
Stock market's going. Just as well as egg prices have gone.
Oh, yeah. No. Good. You know what, Tim? I'm glad you brought up egg prices. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Look, they're down. This is on 533 on March 12th. Let's see, March 3rd, it was 553. Oh yeah, no. Look, 587. And then you go back, starting Oh yeah, no, they were up almost 8 a gallon. They went up, up, up. But so yeah, no, I hope the Department of Education, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Timmy. I hope the Department of Education goes as well as egg prices are too, because they're going down. But I hate getting sidetracked, and I do it so friggin' well. To all you morons who don't understand, first of all, bird flu, they culled millions of chickens, right? At the direction of the FDA. Chickens, dead, sliced, gone, boom, dead, out. The only way to stop the spread of bird flu is to murder all the chickens. Okay, so what happens then? Well, the cost of chicken naturally goes up because there's less supply. And the cost of eggs goes up because there is less supply. And then what happens? Meat chickens, from what I understand, within 15 days, meat chickens can be produced into food. 15, 30 days, it's not a long time. I'm sure there's some chicken lover out there who's going nuts right now. Is like, it's 45 days. I don't know chickens. I'm just telling you what I've read in the past. But to produce, the egg producers take 4 to 6 months before they start producing eggs. And to replace millions, you're not going to do it in one cycle of replacing egg producing chickens. You're not going to, somebody in the chat room correct me. I want to say it was like 4 million or 5 million birds were killed as a result of the directive for bird flu. It could have been higher. Maybe it was 15 million. Doesn't change the fact that you're not going to replace those egg layers in the first cycle. You're not getting 1 million egg layers the first cycle of birds again. You have to build up to that. And then you will start producing more eggs and the price will continue to go down. They started killing the birds, I want to say November, late October. And now here we are, March, you're starting to see the price go down. Why? Those first iterations of new birds are starting to produce eggs. There's still further to go. It's not down yet. So that explains the price of fucking eggs, you idiots.
The president has no idea how education works. He has no idea how these work. He has no idea how any of this works.
And Tim
reallocating them to what? You know, these are professionals that understand.
I know. He was a football coach. He's a football coach, so he knows education.
These are civil rights attorneys that understand and making sure we're getting it right. These are educational experts that research. We don't. When we talk about research, we're not reading
experts
Newsmax online. It's peer.
Go after the conservative. He's hitting all the talking points. You know, it's not going to go after a conservative. Well, they're not watching Newsmax. These are actual fucking experts. You
reviewed studies to show what brain science looks like and how you get an impact. These people have no idea on this, that this is just a random dude who came in and said, cut money. And this is a place, yeah, you know, it is a place where we spend money because it's our future. And they're just random.
Nope. So, by the way, Department of Education, for those who don't know, 7 to 9 weeks for meat birds, so 42 to 65 days. All right, so I wasn't terribly far off. Thank you, Ricky in the chat. So let's talk about the Department of Education for a little bit, because Tampon Tim is trying to just... He's just trying to just bullshit you the best he possibly can. The Department of Education really started getting going under Carter. In 1970, it was there, but really it was an overseeing role. It was a role where it just kind of monitored education. It just kind of was able to say, like, we're doing good here, we're not doing good here, blah, 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 blah. And then Carter came along and said, no. The Department of Education needs to be more active. And instead of school, states deciding what's going to get taught, we're going to kind of decide what's going to get taught. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to stuff it full of fucking bureaucrats who just makes tons of money, makes endless amounts of money. The schools will get less money because we're putting more money into this. And let's see how effective it's been. Well, since 1970, the total cost has gone up 185%. The amount of employees has gone up almost 100%. Enrollment has stayed the same in schools. Reading scores has actually dwindled a little bit. Math scores also the same, and science scores. So what has the Department of Education actually accomplished? Here's a little hint. Fucking nothing. Do you know how bad our education system is in this country? It used to be that states taught what was just currently known: reading, writing, math, arithmetic. And it was whatever science the science books wrote, they bought. And there were different science books, there were different math books, whatever. And now there's very, very few options for books. The Department of Education tells you what books you're going to use. It just is nothing more, than a pyramid scheme. Mission Ready Men nailed it in the chat. I haven't been sharing chat. Sorry, I'm clicking all over the place. It is money laundering, because if you look at who owns these book publishing companies, you know they're close friends with the people who are running the Department of Education. The Department of Education has accomplished a net gain of 0, as you saw on the chart. They've done nothing. Before the Department of Education, we were pretty high. We weren't always number one. We were always battling with other countries near the top. But now, and I had this up earlier, I got to pull it up again because I'm just I really suck at this, apparently. We're the last in education in a lot of places. Where is it? Where's the chart that I had? Damn it. Here it is. Education rankings by country. This is the one I'm looking for. We're 31st as a nation currently in 2025. We are 31st. We are the greatest country in the world. We are objectionably more financed than other countries. We have access to every ounce of internet, history, all of that stuff. We have teachers who have to go to school, and when they're not busy protesting, learn how to become a teacher. We have technology up the ass. We have some of the greatest universities in the world. Not saying I agree with all of them. We do all of that. 49th overall, Rick saying in the chat room. I saw third. Either way, we're first in spending. I was just looking at 31 on a quick search. It could be 49th overall. Either way, it's horrible. We are first in spending. Thank you, Rick, in the chat. And they're mad over the Department of Education. Look, let's say let's say the schools were airplanes, and they were flying pretty damn good until the Department of Air came in. And I'm going to make all of this a fallacy so everyone's not like, oh, he's making fun of all the crashes lately. And the Department of Air takes over all of these airplanes that were flying just fine. They were doing just fine. All 50 airplanes were doing just fine. And then a new air traffic controller came in, and all of a sudden, they're crashing left and right. And right now, everyone's who doesn't want the Department of Education to change goes, yeah, let them keep crashing. That's fine. You know what, though? Let's put more money into the monitoring. Let's put more money into that tower. Let's put more money into the system, into the runways that the airplanes aren't getting to. Let's put more money into the cafes in the airport that the passengers are not getting to because the planes are crashing. The Department of Education, the Department of Education is the biggest loss, and it is the biggest, most ridiculous dupe of a department in our federal government. Because unlike a lot of other departments where they just kind of let down adults, you're letting down children. You wonder why we suck so bad right now? You wonder why there's a girl in Virginia who is suing her high school for giving her a diploma, even though she can't read or write. Because even though she has her diploma, she's smart enough to go, wait a minute, I got screwed. I can't survive in the real world. Do you know why the standards keep getting lowered in all of our schools? You have school districts like in Oregon and Washington. They're like, oh, we don't want to not graduate somebody. We don't really want you to grade the tests on how the math was done, but more how the student felt about doing the math. What the fuck? That's like saying, I don't care if he's a really good doctor, as long as he really likes being a doctor, before the guy goes and cuts into my heart. The Department of Education is the Department of Woke. At the end of the day, that is the department that got hit first and hardest by woke in the 70s when the hippies started running it. And I know everyone gets mad at me when I give the hippies shit, but the hippies ruined this country. The hippies ruined education specifically in this country. Why? Because when the hippies got out of college and started running high schools and colleges, they all went into education and finance. That's the two places they went. The ones who went into education started changing the way education was done and started turning it into a propaganda over everything else. It's why you have to take lesbian interpretive dance, underwater basket weaving, and African bird swallow studies in order to graduate with a business degree. You have to know all of those things that don't matter in your day-to-day job because they started out, we have to broaden the mind. No, let society broaden the mind. Teach our kids how to fucking do math, how to fucking read, especially now since COVID. But no, the Department of Education, not once have they changed course. All they and the teachers union, Randy Weingarten, who's a slug and useless, all they've ever asked for is more money. But there's been no result. Ah, very good. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, she should sue her department, her parents as well. But that's what the Department of Education is. It is absolutely the biggest scam that's been pulled on this country. And it's where woke was allowed to fester. It is why we have kids who think that if they go to school dressed as a fox, that the school should provide a pet rest area so they can use the. I kid you not, that was in the news last year. But that's what they have done. That's what they have become. That was why your children, if they're young and impressionable and in school right now, in public school, could not pass the same test that we were passing 20 years ago. They've lowered the standard. You want to know why writing in cursive is gone? Education. The quality of education we're getting is 10 times worse. Some is the fault of the teachers, but it's the fault of how the teachers were educated and what they were told to worry about and focus about. The higher education in this country, again, porking regular kids because all those rich snobs that were you should teach them it's more important to accept somebody than it is to learn how to do math. Look, your kid's either going to accept somebody or not. But when you waste class time over stupid shit like that, when they could be learning how to do long division, multiply, whatever, physics, entry-level physics, algebra, all things that more often than not, their job uses. But it was this bloated, fat, financial swilling pig that just kept getting fed and fed and fed. And we've gotten nothing. Our children have gotten nothing. So once again, the leftists, because most of the universities run in this country, run by leftists. The leftists taught these teachers to not teach what kids actually need, but to teach them how to feel good, to teach them how to have morals and equity and all this other shit that won't pay the bills, kids. It doesn't pay the bills. Real life is going to hit soon. This group that's coming out of high school right now, these kids who, unless their parents really stood over them and forced them to educate, these ones who couldn't pass simple addition and subtraction and multiplication, they just can't write full sentences. I stammer my words a lot, but believe it or not, I can write paragraphs and stuff like that. I write articles. You can see it. Yes, I use an editing program to make sure that I don't look like a complete moron, but I can formulate. I can set up a paragraph. I can actually do an outline for what I want to do and then hit all my bullet points. I can do stuff like that. Kids aren't being taught to do that now. They're being taught that everything is answered through a computer. Everything answered through a computer. You don't need to know stuff. You can just go Google it until there's no Google, or until they're in a situation where they can't use Google. And then what? I got to take a break. The first 30 minutes flew by. As you can see, I'm a little pent up, a little angry, a little grumpy tonight. And more to talk about right here on the Edge of Liberty on the SHR Media Network. Simulcast with our good friends over at KLRN. Give them a look-see. Please like and subscribe wherever you're watching from. Be back.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
On the way the time cold, I wanna be keeping you warm. I got the right temperature for shelter you from the storm. Hold on, girl, I got the right tactics to turn you on. And girl, I wanna be the papa, you can be the mom. Oh,
I am absolutely loving the fact last week, and I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat room can educate me. Something started memes for JD Vance, and JD Vance just in all of these different AI edits or what, and they've been absolutely hysterical. And let's see, comment from the chat. Rockefeller is widely thought as a philanthropist who shaped our modern education system. There's only one problem. He commissioned studies on how long it would take to indoctrinate subjects. The answer is 12 years, thus the length of our high school system. That's really interesting, and I had no idea about that. So thank you, Rick, in the chat. I appreciate that. But yeah, the JD Vance memes and the pictures, and he is just amazing. And I love the fact that he's retweeted a few, which just shows you like how hysterical JD Vance actually is. And this story, I want to talk about the youth and what they're being taught and how they're acting. This story's out of Virginia, I think, and you may have seen the video. There's a young woman, they're running a relay race, and you know how they have these they call them batons. They hand them off one or the other. Well, this one girl was running her opponent. She had the baton and used it much as a different type of baton, which you're supposed to aim for the legs or the green areas. There are certain people who will understand that and some won't. But here's what really happened. And this is a new version that I saw.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle.
Look at that.
A couple times hitting her my baton.
This is the new angle.
Got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know.
She went full Rodney King with it. Look at that. And she's talking about your head hurts, but you're not thinking about my feelings. This is what happens when yes, baton Rodney King. That was funny. This is what happens when you raise these young athletes to only think about winning, not the competition, not the benefit of competing that comes out of it, not the personal strength that you get for training for it and working for it. This is what happens when you just teach them that winning is everything. And if you don't win, then throw a temper tantrum and however you want until you do win. And this brings me to the WNBA. Angel Reese, arguably a worse basketball player than I am. Maybe not. I'm a horrible basketball player. But she went and said this week, if you don't give us more money, then maybe we just won't come back and we won't play. And I hate to tell her this, but the vast majority of people in this country would be like, okay, well, that was fun. We don't want to see it. We don't care about the WNBA. You want to know how much money the WNBA makes every year? And this may blow you away. And if you Google this, which I thought it was funny, the NBA fully subsidizes the WNBA. If it wasn't for the NBA, the WNBA would not even exist. It would not even be a thing. You would not hear about women basketball after college. And you might ask yourself, why? Well, because objectionably, it's not worth the money to go see the games. Look, I'll tell you, I can remember way back in the day, you had regional sports, right? Back before the NBA was huge, you had different leagues in different states and cities with a couple of teams. Same thing with hockey, baseball. You had the small, area-wide leagues. Those folks were not getting paid a lot of money. Most of them had full-time jobs, and then they did that in the part-time. They were trying to become professional athletes, but it was really more amateur, professional amateur, pro-am, if you will. The WNBA would be that if it was not subsidized. Would you have some games, some cities? Sure, you might have 4 or 5 teams. It would probably be more like a constant tournament, almost like I don't know what's a really good way. Almost like Monster Truck, where it's the same 10 people competing and you don't know who's going to win every week, even though you kind of do know who's going to win every week. It's the same faces, yada, yada, yada. It just wouldn't be what it is now. They try to make a league where there was no need for a league. The WNBA is not interesting. Angel Reese is the worst face of the WNBA. The things she says, how she acts, her lack of talent. There are just pages right now of people showing how horrible of a basketball player she is. But she gets a deal with McDonald's. And she's saying, well, I only get $80,000 a year. Yeah, you got $80,000 a year to play basketball. You don't work a real job. By the way, you also get health care that most people making $80,000 a year don't get. In other words, if your back is sore that day, you have a trainer who's going to give you a rub down and rub your back. And if it keeps getting worse, they're going to bring you that day for an MRI that you don't have to pay for. And then if you still get hurt, you won't have to play. You'll get paid and you'll get unbelievable medical treatment. And this is the WNBA. All of your travel is paid for. Most of your food during the season is paid for. And unlike most normal people who don't have the opportunity at endorsements, you have the opportunity of endorsement. So yeah, you only make $80,000 a year to bounce a basketball. But by the way, that $80,000 a year to bounce a basketball is a hell of a lot better than $80,000 a year to pour concrete, to roof a house, to dig a trench, to do CPR on somebody and be a medic or a cop or a firefighter. You're living a charmed life. Shut up. Shut up. Go away. Oh, we're only getting $80,000 a year. The NBA pays $15 million a year to make sure the WNBA exists. You don't put asses in seats, you're not going to get more money. The NBA puts asses in seats. Those players' jobs are to make sure people put asses in seats and you sell merch. The WNBA does not do either. Ask yourself this. I'm not being a jerk. How many people do you know have WNBA season tickets? How many people you know have going to WNBA games other than their daughters in a basketball league and they got free tickets? Nobody goes. That's why there's 400, 500, 600 people at a game. The Savannah Bananas sell out every single game. They're not in the Major League Baseball. I don't know what those players are making, but they sell out every game. Why? Because it's interesting and it's good and it's fun. People enjoy it. I'll tell you right now, over women's basketball, I would much rather see a professional women's softball league. I watch women's sports softball, collegiate softball. It's talented. Caitlin Clark, yes, that was something I heard some commentator was saying. You know, Caitlin Clark is made $4 million last year, and Angel Reese only gets a salary at $89,000. No. Caitlin Clark, her salary is like $76,000. She made 4 years in endorsements. You know why she's getting endorsements? A, she can play ball. I am not like a basketball guru. Caitlin Clark is a talented human being. And for the most part, when she's on the floor, she doesn't make it about her. She's a team player. She's a good player. And off the floor, she doesn't say much. She said a couple of things I don't agree with, but for the most part, she stays out of it. She's only said things when they've kind of put her into a spotlight. And I don't care what she thinks. But she made those $4 million because she's able to market herself. She's marketable. I think she's gotten a shoe deal. I don't know. Maybe she hasn't. What has Angel Reese got? A deal for McDonald's for a cheeseburger meal. There you go. It's absolutely ridiculous when I see athletes on any level, professional athletes on any level, complaining about the amount of money they make, how much they get treated. We went through this with Meg Rapido in women's soccer a couple of years ago. We should be getting paid more. Really? Because there's freaking literally 45 people in the stadium watching this. It's not interesting. It's not interesting enough. And I know I'm quoting Bill Burr a little bit right now, but where are all the feminists showing up to these games, making them sell out? I agree. I have my problems with Bill Burr lately, but that statement was dead on. Angel Reese would be on OnlyFans so long. I don't doubt it at this point. But that girl who I started this segment off with, hitting somebody with a baton, Rodney King style, instead of, how she's supposed to use it, which is just to run with, turns into Angel Reese when they're not coached properly, when they're not educated properly, when mom and dad, they don't have to be together, but to have people in her life to raise her properly with self-respect and morals, right? They turn into that Angel Clark who's making $80,000 a year, gets all this free shit, and she should just smile and be happy to play basketball for a living. By the way, the same sport that got her a free education. They should just be psyched and shut up and be thankful, but they're not. They turn into whiny little pain in the asses like that. And that's the outcome. This is the problem with the youth in this country right now. Not all of them, but many of them. Oh, man. Here we are again. Here's another story. This was on Reddit. This is just another story of parents not teaching their children to take accountability. This is /legal advice on Reddit 4 days ago. Daughter is being prosecuted for felony vandalism to a vehicle in California. What can be done and who can we contact? Hello, I've made a throwaway account here to post this. My daughter, an African-American 18-year-old female, was involved, why does that matter? Was involved in a protest at a Tesla dealership. After the protest, she apparently vandalized, spray painted, and physically damaged a Tesla and a Cybertruck and was caught on camera. She told her lawyer and I that she was coaxed by her friends to do it. I'm scared for her and I want her to have her best future possible. But I'm afraid she's going to get a harsh sentence if she's found guilty. She should. She's an adult. She should know better. And as a parent, you should be pissed. Pissed. Will she be expelled from school? Probably. Will she be able to get a job? Yeah, if she's got a felony, it's going to be tough for her to get a good one. Any advice from me? Here's once again a parent who has failed in educating her child into simple things like don't break other people's shit that's not yours, and is now looking for free help on how to get her out of it. Instead of saying, that's tough, you're going to have to deal with it, you're an adult now. And maybe I should have taught you better when you were a kid, but look, nothing I can do about it right now. It's all one and the same. These are the same people who this is the same path and the same groups of children who are being taught that nothing's their fault, no morals, no responsibilities. It's Greta Thunberg. She's another one, right? Because you're trying, anything you do is excusable. Anything you say is excusable. It's just unfortunate. And then they turn into these protesters that we had at Columbia, like the guy who's getting his ass kicked out. The people who are freaking out on the left, you're turning them into Democrats is essentially what they're becoming. I don't know how else to say that. You're raising Democrats. Nothing's ever at fault. Attack the process. No personal responsibility. Look, the Democrats still don't accept responsibility for how they lost the last election. Right? That's just a Democrat way. But it blows my mind how many examples we can see on a daily basis of our youth not being raised properly and what that does to them in the future. Oh gosh, I gotta move on. I could stay on that forever. I'm gonna move on. Yearly inflation cools to 2.8 during the first 4 months of Trump's term. Oil sits at about $67 a barrel, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this is not being covered anywhere. Speaking of oil, did you hear about the Portuguese flagship yesterday, that the MV Salong, that collided with the U.S. flagged petroleum tanker, the Stena Immaculate, while it was anchored in the North Sea off the coast of England? Here's something that's kind of weird. If you watch and I forget what it's called, it's the Flight Aware for ships. I'm not going to pretend to know what it is. If you watch its track, it was making a direct line for the American tanker. By the way, that tanker was transporting jet fuel for the Department of Defense when it was T-boned by the Salong. Did you know that there's a Russian captain of that ship and other Russian crew members? Were they intentionally targeting the Salong? It shows as of right now, there was zero attempt to slow that ship. It was on a beeline. And a ship that large has radar. They have their radar emitting technology. The ships that are moored, they have radar. Why didn't it see it? Somebody fall asleep? I'm almost positive there are proximity alerts on those huge ships. Or somebody mad at the U.S. because the U.S. got Ukraine to come to the table, and now the ball is being kicked over to the Russians for a ceasefire. Maybe not. It could be a wild hypothesis, but it's just odd, the amount of technology in a high traffic shipping lane that both ships have been at before. One is moored. They have all of their lights on. Everyone has their radars on. It's 2025. Technology works. And much like a boat that hit a bridge, you hit a huge tanker that's carrying A1 jet fuel that was hired by the Department of Defense. And now that jet fuel is all gone as the fires raged. Just interesting. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But it does make you ask some questions, doesn't it? Would you put it past Russia to just send a little message every once in a while? I wouldn't. Told you before. Putin's crazy. He's an old KGB lunatic. This is messages that they used to send. Oops, we had an accident. Oops, my bad. That cost you a couple $1 million. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Did you see this? There's a gentleman. I say gentleman nicely. His name is Shelton Snow. He's an air traffic operations supervisor for the FAA. And he is also inside the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees. I didn't know that was a thing, but it is. And he's a prominent figure inside there. He was caught teaching people how to cheat on the test to become an air traffic controller. Stop. Let me wind that back up. I just want to make sure that you heard that. He was teaching people how to cheat on the test to become an air traffic controller. Once again, not really a job where we want somebody who had to cheat to get in to be doing, right? I don't know what it takes to become an air traffic controller. I'm going to guess there's some fairly decent amount of common sense involved, but also some math and, some basic stuff. But wouldn't you think that test, that baseline test is super important? And he was caught on video doing it. And here is the video, because why not? Or the audio, sorry, with pictures.
Washington Suburban Associate members, brothers and sisters, listen, it's been a really busy time for me these past 4 days. I know that each of you are eager, very eager to apply for this job vacancy announcement. And trust, after tonight, you will be able to do so. I am asking that you give me another 15 or 16 hours. Allow me to go to work and come home, provide you with an email that will be extremely crucial in the open stages of this hiring process. There are some valuable pieces of information that I have taken a screenshot of, and I'm going to send that to you via email. Trust and believe it will be something that you will appreciate to the utmost. Keep in mind, we are trying to maximize your opportunities, and I'm doing the very best that I can with the time that I'm given. Today, when I get off at 11 o'clock, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to finish out that email.
Stop for a second. So I remember taking civil service tests when I was young. There had some prep classes. You went, they kind of told you like how the test was going to go. And then they introduced you to like basic law, constitutional law, depending on what you were testing on, et cetera, et cetera. It was about a few hours, cost you a lot of money, and it's nothing that you wouldn't have been able to figure out on your own if you just read a little bit. But it did not provide you any more information on how to apply for a job. It didn't apply anything else other than what you should study in order to be prepped for the test, which I'm pretty sure the FAA probably has what to expect in the test. This is different. This is to a very select certain people. Obviously, this is not to everybody. He's not working for the FAA saying, hey guys, this is so-and-so, and I'm here to show you, how to prep for this test and what to learn for the test. No, this is going to a very select group of people.
I'm going to send it to each of you. And as you progress through the stages, refer to those images so that you will know which icons you should select. Now, I have a good mind to send it to one of my HR representatives first and give them the opportunity to sign off on it before you actually click it. But in the sake of time, I'm going to send it directly to you because I'm about 99.99% sure that it's exactly how you need to answer each question in order to get through the first phase.
Almost 99.99% sure how you need to answer the questions to get through the first phase. You can't get to the second phase without getting through the first phase, can you? No. It's so weird to me that people will do this and think it's okay. Like I said, this isn't helping your buddy prep on the test and saying, oh, well, this is what I remember and this is what I would read and da-da-da-da-da. One-on-one. This isn't a couple of friends who might be interested in taking the test where it's like, oh, you're an air traffic controller? Like, what does that have to do? Like, how do we take the test? Whatever. No, he is recording this and telling you, hey, I'm going to release something that's going to tell you exactly how to answer in order to move forward on a federal test.
People have been getting rejection notices, and those rejection notices have been coming after about 24 to 36 hours after clicking submit. And I want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and we're going to make sure that everything that we click on, and you're going to even have to go back to your resume and make some changes because one of our members and I have caught something. And we want to go back and we want to fine tune those details. And I guarantee that will give us the very best feeling that we could ever get in applying for this job.
We caught something. There's something in the resume. I'm okay with help with resumes. That's fine. But when you can't pass the entry level test, and he's trying to teach you the entry level test, if you've ever taken a tiered tested for a job or anything else, the entry level is literally, what's your name? Are you a citizen? Blah, 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 blah. Couple of basic questions, and you hit submit. And then the next phase might be more in depth towards the job knowledge that you're going to need, or the background knowledge you're going to need. And then the third phase is worse. And if you pass all that, you'll get an oral interview and blah, 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 blah. He's telling you how to get past the first craze. These are the people we don't want controlling the airplanes. The ones who literally can't pass phase one.
VRAs, those that have received tentative offer letters. We want you to apply for this job anyway. Messages came back saying do not give the agency an opportunity to say they never gave you one. So apply for it anyway.
Okay.
For everyone else, stand by to stand by. Later on this evening, when I get home, I'm going to finish those emails. And then I'm going to go back to planning for the Black History Month program. And then I'm going to process all new members' enrollment forms.
I'm okay. I'm seriously okay with saying, hey, even if you're in process, apply again. If you've, I can tell you right now, federal, state, local job levels, sometimes applications get lost. Sometimes applications get thrown to the side and just disappear. It does happen, intentionally, not intentionally, whatever. I'm okay with that part of it. And I am okay with trying to get people interested into being an air traffic controller. I'm okay if you're like, hey, this is not notoriously, a job that a lot of people know about, and I'm trying to give you education and information, and I'll point you to the information that you need, and I'll point you to the education that you can give yourself to potentially do better at it. I'm okay with doing that. I'm okay with being excited and talking up a job that you love. But when you start saying, I'm going to tell you how to answer questions, and I'm going to tell you how to cheat the system, and it's for air traffic controllers, holy shit, do we have a problem in this country? Because that says I don't care about the people flying in the skies. I have an ulterior motive. And it would appear that he does. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Running a minute or two over here. Sorry, Rick and the team over at KLRN, which you can catch my show every Monday and Wednesday, but also catch out a whole bunch of other amazing shows over at KLRN. Mondays, Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You have the Reaver of Common Sense right here on the SHR Media Network. Tuesdays, noon East, 9 West. Thursdays, same bad time. You have Mission Ready Men with my good friend Big E. Check him out. And then, of course, Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have the Ablovian Zeppelin Berserks Bobcat Saloon. Me, Monday and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR Media Network. You can follow me, the number 2 Against Tyranny on X. Hey, there it is. Please like and subscribe wherever you have listened or seen this show from. Thank you to those who chatted in chat. I really appreciate it. And if you get a chance to download the podcast, please do so. Share with your friends, like it one and all. I will see you fine folks tomorrow night. I'll be on the Blovian Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon along with Jersey Joe, Reaver of Common Sense, and I believe Big E. It's going to be an SHR night over at BZ Show, so make sure you check it out. Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay happy. I'm trying to look for my little, there it is. Stay safe, stay happy, and have a great week. Adios.